Um, one of the things that I like to do is travel journaling. Now, I've looked at a lot of books and it's nothing like I learned how to do it. About, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I took a class from an art teacher over in Beaverton, and she was taking a group of 10 artists on a Mediterranean cruise. And we were going to paint all the way through it. So one of the things she taught us how to do was how to do a travel journal. This was the first one, let's see, I ever did. It's kind of like, those moleskin ones.
Oh, yeah.
This is the first one I ever did. It's nice because you can put, a thing on the spine. One of the things I've noticed through doing this, I've never showed this to anybody because this is a very personal thing. And all of you who would like to try it, I take tons of pictures. I always take pictures for my travels. And I'll come home and go to like Walmart or Walgreens or someplace that has a deal because I have like 75 or more paintings or pictures to run off and get a deal. But then when they take them out of the machine, they mix them all up. And when I'm going to 8 or 9 different countries, to try to figure out which one goes where, I can refer to my journal. And I'll show you why in a few minutes. Another thing that I like to do both the photographs and a journal because not only will it help me get my pictures in the right order, but when I'm traveling and I'm taking pictures, I'm taking a picture and I take a picture and I'm not really spending time, but when I do this, I always sit down, I do a pencil sketch. These are not masterpieces. These are just sketches. But what it does is when I go through my pictures, it's really fun and I can draw from them. But when I open up this book and I look at some of these pictures, a lot of other things come back. Whether I have it in here or not, I might remember a conversation I had with one of the locals. Or a smell that when we were in Casablanca, we were on the streets of Casablanca, we came around to this open air shop. And the shop wasn't open air, but the door was open, and we turned the corner, and it was an olive shop. It had probably 40 baskets like this, filled with every color olive you could imagine. And when we walked into that shop, there was just a fragrance that just enveloped you. When I look at the picture in my journal, that comes back to me. When I look at it at my pictures, it doesn't. Don't ask me why, but I think it's because you sit, you look at it enough to be able to sketch it. Okay, so let's say this is going to be kind of a short demo, but let's talk about this just a little. How do you do this? I mean, when you're traveling, do you have time to draw? A lot of us don't. The way I was taught to do it is at first what I do, if you notice, I really like to decorate the fronts of mine. Why do I do that? Because then I can tell them apart. And I put them right with my pictures on the shelf so that I can pull them off, I can look at them, I can get the memories and all. I started out with this type of a journal. And if you're going to go for maybe 3-4 weeks, that might be okay. But if I go for a week, I'm not going to fill that many pages. It's just not going to happen. So I've gone to one of these two. I really like this one. This one is okay. It's supposed to stay flat, but look. If I'm doing watercolor, it's going to go running right into that center. And I can deal with it, but why bother? I'm in a hurry. I want to get my pictures down and not worry about that. So I like to have a wire one so that I can put this on my lap really easy and I can draw on here. So the first thing I do, notice how limp this is. It's not very So that's another reason that I decorate the front. I collage, and that's part of my planning. When I'm getting ready for a trip, I'm kind of excited and I'm going someplace new. And so I do a little research, I'll look at brochures, I'll go online, and I get pictures. And I just do kind of a collage on the front. Put the name. And then, I'm gonna be outside. Might even drop it on the ground, knowing me. So I want some way of protecting this so that if it starts to sprinkle, I'm not gonna lose it. It's not gonna get all warped. So I take clear contact paper. And I just put it over here, and I have it a little bit bigger than the 3 sides, and I fold it under. Then I take the first page and I glue. And I glue this so that it's all enclosed there. Okay, then that's not a good example. Let me get this one. Oh, that's not a good example. Okay, so then if I prepare my journal before I actually go on my trip, then I have a really hard time if it's like this to get started. It's kind of a lot of white. And I think, what do I put down there? But if I do this, I always on that inside cover, I put how you can get it to me if I lose this. A lot of people will put an address label. Some have a stamp that they'll put. I don't want my address on here because, see, I might be in Europe and I might lose it. If I have my email address and I have my cell number, they could call me and maybe get it to my hotel for me if I lose it. Now, I've never lost one. But if I do, and I always put in here, this book belongs to Barbara Seliner, so they don't want to keep it. Contains sketches drawn on vacation in the San Juan Islands, and I have the date, and I have the place we were going. And then, if I lose this book, please return it to me, thank you. So that, hopefully, I can get it back if I do lose it.
After you look at it, please return it.
Yeah. Okay, and then I always have a map. Where am I going? Mm-hmm. And I like to know where I'm, so I have some idea. And so it's kind of like a journal, it's kind of like a visual. Here we were going by car. So I have our route that we were going to go to get to the ferry, to go to the San Juans. Here is a picture of the one we were staying on. So that as we're driving around, we know where we are. And then after that, and then I also at the very back will either put a piece of paper and I glue it here and here and here. So that if I have a postcard, I have a ticket, I have a feather that I get from a bird that I want to put in here in time, then I have a place to put it so it's not going to get lost. And that's how I start my trip. And you can do this with colored pencils. I still like my watercolors. And they're just sketches, guys. They're not masterpieces. But by sitting down, this is where we happened to stay. It was a little cabin that we had. And when we got there were these little bunnies sitting on the steps. And so that's what I wrote about, and I just had a picture of it. These were around where we were staying. This one happens to be the cafes on the island. There aren't many. They close at very, very unusual times. Like at lunch, they'll be closed. So you got to know when to go to them. So that went in there. And then, of course, I do a landscape once in a while, but it's not a masterpiece. It's fast. It's a sketch. Keep that in mind. It's a sketch. And I almost always, let's see, I did it on this one. I got to the point where I started to do a cartouche on what I call a cartouche. Every page, I put a box. I put the abbreviation of the day. This one's Friday. Under that, I put a line, and I put the number for the month and the day that I'm there, that this page was done. And under that, I put the year. So when I get home, if I'm taking pictures of, say, the glass blowing, and it's all mixed up with something that happened 3 days later, I can put my pictures in order a lot easier. And so I always try to put what day it is that I'm working on. And if I have like I'm gonna be gone for a week, I usually do a 2-page spread. If I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks, it might only be a 1-page spread, or maybe a combination thereof. I mean, like here, this was we went to the Outback in Cabo, and these were, I can't remember the name of them, but that's it there. And we rode camels. And so that's all part of it, how that all came about. Sometimes I put photographs in here, so I'll leave a space because there's a photograph I wanted to put in there. Or sometimes it's something out of a brochure. You know, so it doesn't have to be all your own drawings and sketches. But when you get done with this and you get home and you start going through here, I mean, looking at this, I remember what the song was that they played. I can hear it. You know, to remember things, you almost have to have feeling, you have to have sight, hearing, smell, and all of those things will come back when you go through this, where it won't go through that with your photographs. But you need your photographs if you want to paint a really masterpiece of it. So what do I take with me when I'm doing this? This is what goes in my car or in my luggage. It has the journal I'm working on. I also, if I'm going to a place, a country, or in this case it was going to be Mexico, I went and I found some different stickers. And I had them all ready, and I also went online and got some interesting little things that I can just glue in there. And I put some dots in here. And then I made this little pocket so that they're not all over the place and I can find them. And so that's one of the things I take with me. If I am going to go, for the day and I don't want to take everything, take my journal, take my toothbrush holder that has 2 pencils. I have a mechanical pencil. I have a pop-top pencil, so I don't have to take a sharpener. Okay? I have my micron pen because I like to ink it sometimes. When I get it the way I want it, then I'll ink it. And I don't know why I have this, because this is just a pastel white. But I'm not usually putting highlights on it. But for some reason I have that in there. And then if I want to take my paints with me, this is what I take. This has everything I need for painting.
I wish oils was like
This is 3 travel brushes because I like using brushes. I also have a water brush, but I like using my paints. So that's in here. I have a pipette so I can fill my little water cups. They're just lids. Fill my little water cups. I can also fill my water brush and not get a mess all over the place. I have my eraser. I have a spritzer. Here's my paint palette. I found these little gizmos on Amazon. 2 of them fit in there, and I put magnets in the bottom. And these are 8 of the colors you need to make every color you want. But then I have my favorites. So, and then I have my little up here. So I have that. And then if I need to mix, I have one of these. And that's really all I need. I rarely take this kit with me. This kit I will use more often. Put these away. I'll leave it up here so you can see it. Those kits I do mostly in my room. Like if I'm on a cruise. If I'm on a cruise, I'll usually just take this and my journal, and I put it in my tote bag or my purse. And I just get the drawings done. Then either that night when I get back to the ship or the hotel, I'll ink them, or I'll add more to it. Sometimes I'll go through the pictures I've taken that day and add some more to it. But I only do a page or two a day. This was done prior to leaving. But I'll only do a page or so a day. Now this one was one that we were in the hot tub. This is what we were looking at. These were all different things that happened while we were there. They had a real Mexican fiesta for us. This was down, this was an art walk that we went on in the town. And then we took a boat ride out to the arches. Here was the glass blowers that we went to. These were all on different days. So you're not doing like a garbanzo amount of drawing. While I'm sitting having a cup of coffee, I might be sketching. When I'm waiting for the concert to start, I could be sketching. It doesn't take a lot of time to do this, is the thing. Then when I get back, I can always catch it up. Like we have a day at sea, I'll catch up all of it without putting the color right in on it. I have my pictures, easy peasy. And I gotta have something to do during that day. So that makes it so that you're still enjoying your trip. You're still taking your pictures, but now I have all these memories that come back to me. When we flew out of Cabo, it was gorgeous. And where this maybe doesn't really show it, I see it in my mind's eye, what it was like, because I have it here in my book. Again, you can put pictures where I wrote what I wanted to say about it, and then there was a picture I knew I had taken I want to put here, so I just saved the place. And I'll also, for the things like these that I have taken off of the internet, I always take dots with me so I can put them in. This is the other thing that I really like. These are called Pentalic Dream Catchers. One that I did in Mexico when I was in Ixtapa, Zihuatanejo. These are kind of cool. They're watercolor paper. And what you can do is, they just fit in your pocket, which is kind of nice. And I just drew on the front, did in case I lose it, here's my map of where we would go, because I didn't know where it was. But we got tickets and we were going. It was one of our timeshares. So we were going clear down here. One day we spent on the beach, and this is what was going on. I did a 2-page. You could do a panorama and do 3 or 4 pages if you want on one day. But more than likely I'll do a 2-page spread. This is when we went to the temples. They had dug up the Mayan temples. Then we had a day on the beach. Then, the cool thing is, then you can go and work on the back as well. So it's really kind of a nice, these are the two I now use. I don't normally cover this one because I don't want to lose a page here, and I need to cover it with plastic. But this is heavy enough, I don't really need to do that. The rain's not going to hurt it. And then a lot of times they'll also come with, like these, sometimes will come with a full pocket in the back already. This one I just made my own.
Barb?
Yeah.
When you do the letter this month for the newsletter, can you say the names of these products and where you bought them? Because there's a lot here.
Sure.
And I think people would read that. I would.
Sure. But now remember, I can say, well, this one happens to be a Paul Rubia, but it's like a moleskin.
Okay, yeah.
Or it's anyone that you like that's a moleskin. You know, they have some that are cheaper, some that are more expensive. The thing I like about them is they do have a elastic. Some of them also will have a little loop here to put your pencil in. And they all have one of these, where this doesn't and this doesn't. These are just, I get them on Amazon, you know. I just get 4 or 5 at a time. Pentalic, you can also get them at Blick. But you can get, if, let's say that you're, I think they left early, but if you're just gonna do a pencil or a charcoal, they have it in that paper too.
Oh, great.
And you don't have to use just watercolor. There for a while when I went to London, I was using Pitt pens. You can use colored pencils. You can use watercolor pens. So you don't have to take a palette if you don't want to. And it still looks just as good. If you look at the London one, it's kind of interesting with the Pitt pens.
Well, we have another question over here in the corner.
Okay, give me just 1 minute.
Okay.
Where's London? This was done in Pitt pens.
What do you mean by that?
Pitt pens are a brand that is a Fabra, that pencil company that,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and they're I don't know if they're an alcohol or a water base.
Okay, so they're
But yeah, they're like a felt tip pen.
Okay.
And then I have some here that are just pencil, colored pencil. You know, so it doesn't have to be paint if you don't want it to be. It's a short question.
Yeah, I kinda went on the plane for a minute. I don't know if you talked about time zones, what you would record for time zones. Like you went over to France or whatever, and what the time zone was then and what it was, what you painted like at that time zone, you know what I mean?
You can put that in there if that's important to you.
Okay.
But I don't worry about that. I don't worry about time zones. I don't put the time usually on there. Although there are times that you go on a trip. Let's see. Where's one that I took? This was a cruise. And we did the airplane. And one of the things I will do if we have an airplane or a cruise is I'll always put this kind of thing on there before I go. But I like to also, before I leave, if we're doing a cruise, I put my itinerary in here. So I know, you know, when you're on a cruise, you kind of don't know what day you're on. So I put up here, it was a 12-day cruise. It was a Norwegian Spirit. We were on deck 5 in room 5606. Then I have the date, what country we're in, when we depart, because I don't want to miss the cruise, you know. And then I'll put, if I know of something that is going to be in where we are, I'll put it in there. Otherwise, I leave it blank and do it when I get there. These blues, those are when we're at sea. So I know when I can catch my book up. And I will tell what each one of these, where we were at the time, so that I always have that with me and I know where we're going to be tomorrow.
That's ingenious.
And I like doing that, if I know where we're going to be from day to day. If we're doing a road trip, I don't have that. But if we have a tour of some kind, we do. This one happened to be, we did this to the Casablanca and the Canary Islands. And then we took 4 days in Switzerland at my husband's family. Any other questions? I think we're done then. I'll leave these up here so you can come and take a look at them if you want to. But remember, they're not masterpieces. And you're not going to get the same smells and memories that I do when I get into them. But if you try it, you might like it.